Mötley Crüe is an American heavy metal band formed in Los Angeles in 1981. The group was founded by bassist Nicky Six, drummer Tommy Lee, lead guitarist Mick Mars and lead singer Vince Neil. Mötley Crüe has sold over 100 million albums worldwide. They have also achieved 7 platinum or multi-platinum certifications, 9 top 10 albums on the Billboard 200 chart, 22 top 40 mainstream rock hits, and 6 top 20 pop singles. The band experienced several short-term lineup changes in the 1990s and 2000s. These included the introduction of vocalist John Corabi and drummers Randy Castillo and Samantha Maloney, both of whom filled in for Lee following his departure from Mötley Crüe in 1999. He returned to the band in 2004. More recently in 2022, guitarist Mick Mars announced his retirement from touring with the band, with former Rob Zombie guitarist John Five taking his place on live duties. The members of Mötley Crüe have often been noted for their hedonistic lifestyles and the androgynous persona they maintained. Following the hard rock and heavy metal origins on the band's first 2 albums, Too Fast for Love and Shout at the Devil, the release of its third album Theater of Pain saw Mötley Crüe joining the first wave of glam metal. The band has also been known for their elaborate live performances, which feature flamethrower guitars, roller coaster drum kits, and heavy use of pyrotechnics. Mötley Crüe's last studio album, Saints of Los Angeles, was released on June 24, 2008. What was planned to be the band's final show took place on New Year's Eve, December 31, 2015. The concert was filmed for a theatrical and Blu-ray release in 2016. After 2.5 years of inactivity, Neil announced in September 2018 that Mötley Crüe had reunited and was working on new material. On March 22, 2019, the band released 4 new songs on the soundtrack for its Netflix biopic The Dirt, based on the band's New York Times best-selling autobiography of the same name. The soundtrack went to number 1 on the iTunes All Genres album chart, number 3 on the Billboard Top Album and Digital Album Sales charts, number 10 on the Billboard 200, and top 10 worldwide. The autobiography returned to New York Times bestseller list at number 6 on non-fiction print and number 8 on non-fiction combined print and ebook. Mötley Crüe embarked on its first major tour in 7 years in the summer and fall of 2022, CO headlining a North American tour with Def Leppard. History. 1981–1983, Early History and I Too Fast for Love / I. None. 1983–1991, International Fame and Addiction Struggles. Too Fast for Love, the title track from the band's debut album, was reportedly recorded over a span of 3 days while the band members were under the influence of alcohol. Their antics included, according to the website Page 6, urinating in public or on the floors of their bedrooms, and throwing beds and furniture such as futons out of hotel windows in Hamburg, Germany. Nicky Six had been arrested for the first time while selling chocolate mescaline at a Rolling Stones concert in 1973. The band became rapidly successful in the United States after playing at the U.S. Festival in May 1983, and also with the aid of the new medium of MTV. Their second album, Shout at the Devil, was released in September 1983. The album represented the band's mainstream breakthrough and would eventually be certified 4 times platinum. The album generated controversy for its title track and album imagery, both of which invoked Satanism. They then gained the attention of heavy metal legend Ozzy Osbourne and found themselves as the opening act for Osbourne on his 1984 tour for Bark at the Moon. The band members were well known for their backstage antics, outrageous clothing, extreme high-heeled boots, heavily applied makeup, and seemingly endless abuse of alcohol and drugs as well. The band members also had their share of run-ins with the law. On December 8, 1984, Neil was driving home from a liquor run in his De Tomaso Pantera which ended in a head-on collision, his passenger, Hanoi Rocks drummer Nicholas Razzle Dingley, was killed. Neil, charged with a DUI and vehicular manslaughter, was sentenced to 30 days in jail and subsequently sued for $2,500,000. The short jail term was negotiated by his lawyers, enabling Neil to tour and pay the civil suit. The band's third album Theatre of Pain was released in June 1985 and dedicated in Dingley's honor, and it started a new glam metal phase in the band's style. Theatre of Pain was commercially successful, reaching number 6 on the Billboard album charts and eventually being certified quadruple platinum. However, the recording of the album was fraught with tension in the wake of Neil's accident and Sihas's growing addiction, and members of the band have said that they consider it a creative disappointment. Mötley Crüe spent most of the next year on a world tour in support of Theatre of Pain. In February 1986 in London, England, Sihas suffered a near-fatal heroin overdose, and the person who sold him the drugs dumped his unconscious body in a dumpster. The incident inspired Sihas to write the song Dancing on Glass for their next album. The band's fourth album, Girls, 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 was released in May 1987 and debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200. Sihas has said in interviews that he believes the album would have debuted at number 1 if not for behind-the-scenes maneuvering by Whitney Houston's record label. The band again changed their look for the album and subsequent tour, trading the glam elements of the previous album for a biker aesthetic. The band faced many of the same personal issues that plagued the recording of Theatre of Pain, and Sihas has complained that those issues compromised the album's quality, although he has spoken more positively about the record in subsequent years. On December 23, 1987, Sihas suffered a heroin overdose. He was declared clinically dead on the way to the hospital, but the paramedic, who was a Crüe fan, revived Sihas with 2 shots of adrenaline. His 2 minutes in death were the inspiration for the song Kickstart My Heart, which peaked at number 16 on the mainstream US chart, and which was featured on the 1989 US number 1 album Dr. Feelgood. From 1986 to 1987, Sihas kept a daily diary of his heroin addiction and eventually entered rehab in January 1988. In 1988, controversy again hit the band in the form of a lawsuit by Matthew Tripp. Tripp claimed that Sihas was hospitalized in 1983 after a car crash involving drugs and that he had been hired as Sihas's doppelganger. The suit was regarding the loss of royalties from his time in Mötley Crüe, and the case was not closed until 1993 when Tripp dropped his charges and disappeared from public view. Their decadent lifestyles almost shattered the band until managers Thaler and McGee pulled an intervention and refused to allow the band to tour in Europe, fearing that some would come back in body bags. Shortly after, all the band members jointly entered drug rehabilitation in an effort to move forward as a band. After finding sobriety, Mötley Crüe reached its peak popularity with the release of their fifth album, the Bob Rock-produced Dr. Feelgood, on September 1, 1989. Rock and the band recorded the album in Vancouver, with the band members recording their parts separately for the first time to reduce infighting and to focus on individual performance. Aerosmith lead singer Steven Tyler, who was recording the album Pump at the same studio, provided backing vocals. On October 14 of that year, it became a number 1 album and stayed on the charts for 114 weeks after its release. The band members each stated in interviews that, due in no small part to their collective push for sobriety, Dr. Feelgood was their most solid album musically to that point. The title track and Kickstart My Heart were both nominated for Grammys in the Best Hard Rock category in 1990 and 1991, respectively, but lost both years to songs by Living Colour. The band did find some success at the American Music Awards, as Dr. Feelgood was nominated twice for Favorite Hard Rock/Metal Award, losing once to Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction, but winning the following year, beating out Aerosmith's Pump and Poison's Flesh and Blood. Mötley Crüe was also nominated twice for Favorite Hard Rock/Metal Artist. In 1989, McGee was fired after the band alleged he had broken several promises that he made in relation to the Moscow Music Peace Festival, including giving his other band, Bon Jovi, advantages in terms of slot placement. Thaler then assumed the role of sole band manager. The band spent the fall of 1989 and most of 1990 on a massive world tour, the band's biggest to that point. It was a major financial success but left the band feeling burnt out. In April 1990, Lee suffered a concussion during a mishap involving a rappelling drum kit stunt during a live concert in New Haven, Connecticut. On October 1, 1991, the band's first compilation album, Decade of Decadence 81–91, was released. It peaked at number 2 on the Billboard 200 album chart. It was reportedly designed as just something for the fans while the band worked on the next all-new album. 1992–2003, Years of Turmoil. Vince Neil left the band in February 1992 following the release of Decade of Decadence, during a period in which most other prominent glam metal bands of the 1980s were breaking up or otherwise seeing their popularity decline significantly amid the advent of grunge and alternative music. It remains unclear whether Neil was fired or quit the band. Sils has long maintained that Neil quit, while Neil insists that he was fired. Any band has its little spats, Neil observed in 2000, and this one basically just stemmed from a bunch of fuck yous in a rehearsal studio. It went from I quit to you're fired. It was handled idiotically. The management just let one of the biggest bands in the world break up. In the running for the vacant frontman position was Kick Tracy vocalist Stephen Sharrows. Ultimately Neil was replaced by John Corabi. Although Mötley's self-titled March 1994 release made the Billboard Top 10, the album was a commercial failure. It also prompted negative reactions from many fans due to Neil's absence and its sound. Corabi suggested the band bring back Neil, believing the latter would always be seen as the voice of the band. This eventually resulted in his own firing in 1996. Corabi spoke about his time with the band and his thoughts on the first record with Mötley Crüe. Corabi said, "My record was the first record that they had done that didn't go platinum, didn't make some sort of crazy noise, and everybody panicked." During his time away from the band, Neil released a moderately successful solo album, Exposed in 1993, and a less commercially successful follow-up, Carved in Stone in 1995. The band reunited with Neil in 1997, after their current manager, Alan Kovac, and Neil's manager, Bert Stein, set up a meeting between Neil, Lee, and Sis. Agreeing to leave their egos at the door, the band released Generation Swine. Although it debuted at number 4, and in spite of a live performance at the American Music Awards, the album was a commercial failure, due in part to lack of support from their label. In 1998, Mötley's contractual ties with Elektra had expired, putting the band in total control of their future, including the ownership of the master recordings of all of their albums. Announcing the end of their relationship with Elektra, the band became one of the few groups to own and control their publishing and music catalog. They are one of only a handful of artists to own the masters to their material and reportedly did so by being the biggest pain they could be until Elektra got fed up and handed over the rights in order to get the band off their label. After leaving Elektra, the band created their own label, Mötley Records. Mötley released their compilation Greatest Hits in late 1998, featuring 2 new songs, Bitter Pill and Enslaved. In 1999, the band re-released all their albums, dubbed as Crucial Crew. These limited edition digital remasters included demos, plus live, instrumental, and previously unreleased tracks. In 1999 the band also released Supersonic and Demonic Relics, an updated version of Decade of Decadence featuring the original songs from that album and several previously unreleased B-sides and remixes, as well as their first official live album Entertainment or Death. The band then went on a CO headlining tour with the Scorpions. In 1999, Lee quit to pursue a solo career, due to increasing tensions with Neil. "All we got was a call from his attorney saying he wasn't coming back," recalled the singer. "He wasn't into rock and roll anymore. He even said that rock is dead. It all happened during a void in Mötley. We weren't even rehearsing, so it was no big deal." Lee was replaced by a longtime friend of the band, former Ozzy Osbourne drummer Randy Castillo. The band released New Tattoo in July 2000. Before the ensuing tour commenced, Castillo became ill with a duodenal ulcer. The band brought in former Hole drummer Samantha Maloney for the Maximum Rock tour with Megadeth as Castillo concentrated on his health. However, while Castillo was recovering from stomach surgery, he was diagnosed with squamous cell carcinoma after finding a tumor on his jaw. He died on March 26, 2002. Soon afterward, the band went on hiatus. While the band was on hiatus, Sihs played inside Projects 58 and Brides of Destruction. Neil was featured on the first season of VH1's reality show The Surreal Life, and had his own special titled Remaking Vince Neil, which focused on his solo career and attempts to get in better physical shape. Mars, who suffers from a hereditary form of arthritis which causes extensive spinal pain called ankylosing spondylitis, went into seclusion in 2001 dealing with health issues. Lee went on to form Methods of Mayhem and also performed as a solo artist during this time. A 2001 autobiography titled The Dirt, co-authored by all four of the band members and Neil Strauss, presented Mötley as the world's most notorious rock band. The book made the top 10 on the New York Times bestseller list and spent 10 weeks there, and would return to the list after the film adaptation was released in spring 2019. In 2003, the band released 2 box sets entitled Music to Crash Your Car 2, Volume 1 and Volume 2, featuring the music from their entire career. The titles of the collections were heavily criticized by Hanoi Rocks singer Michael Monroe, among others, due to their possible reference to Vince Neil and Razzle's fatal automobile accident, and that Neil was found guilty of manslaughter for the incident. 2004-2007, reunion and renewed success. A promoter in England, Mags Revell, began clamoring for a Mötley Crüe reunion, ostensibly presenting himself as the voice of anxious fans waiting for more from the band. After meeting with management several times, in September 2004, Sihs announced that he and Neil had returned to the studio and had begun recording new material. In December 2004, the 4 original members announced a reunion tour, staging an announcement event in which they arrived at the Hollywood Palladium in a hearse. The tour began on February 14, 2005, in San Juan, Puerto Rico. The resulting compilation album, Red, White and Crüe, was released in February 2005. It features the band members' favorite original songs plus 3 new tracks, If I Die Tomorrow, Sick Love Song, and a cover of the Rolling Stones classic Street Fighting Man. A small controversy was caused when it was suggested that neither Lee nor Mars played on the new tracks. However, a VH1 documentary of the band's reunion later showed that Lee did indeed play on some of the tracks. The Japanese release of Red, White and Crüe includes an extra new track titled I'm a Liar. Red, White and Crüe charted at number 6 and has since gone platinum. On New Year's Eve 2004 the band appeared on a live episode of The Tonight Show. Neil yelled an obscenity during the performance, leading to an FCC investigation. The NBC network responded by banning the band, leading to the band subsequently suing the network, claiming they were being unfairly punished. The lawsuit was eventually settled out of court and the band made several subsequent appearances on the network. In 2005, Mötley Crüe was involved in an animation comedy spoof Disaster, which was written by Paul Benson and Matt Sullivan and which was used as the introduction film to concerts on their Carnival of Sins tour. That tour continued throughout 2005 and was commemorated with the release of a live album and DVD in 2006. In the fall of 2005 the band re-recorded Home Sweet Home as a duet with Linkin Park lead singer Chester Bennington and donated the proceeds to the victims of Hurricane Katrina. In 2006, Mötley Crüe went on the Root of All Evil tour, CO headlining with Aerosmith and taking performers from Lucent Dossier Experience on the road with them. 2006 also saw the band sign with Paramount Pictures and MTV Films to adapt their autobiography The Dirt into a movie, but the production was delayed for several years and the deal eventually fell through. In June 2007, Mötley Crüe set out on a small European tour. A lawsuit was filed by Neil, Mars, and Sihs against Carl Stubner, Lee's manager. The three sued him for contracting for Lee to appear on 2 unsuccessful reality shows the band claim hurt its image. It was later reported on Motley.com that the lawsuit had been settled. In 2007, Sihs published his diaries as the best-selling autobiography The Heroin Diaries, A Year in the Life of a Shattered Rock Star, covering the band's Girls, World Tour and his 1987 overdose. And Sihs' side project band Sihs.m released the Heroin Diaries soundtrack as a musical parallel to the novel. 2008-10, I Saints of Los Angeles / I. None. 2011-2015, the final tour and retirement from touring. Mötley Crüe CO headlined a mid-year tour with Poison and special guests New York Dolls in 2011 for the band's 30th anniversary and Poison's 25th anniversary. On August 30, 2011, Mötley Crüe, along with CO headliners Def Leppard and special guests Steel Panther, announced a UK tour commencing in December 2011. In February 2012 the band appeared along with supermodel Adriana Lima in a commercial for the Kia Optima, which premiered during Super Bowl XLVI. February 2012 also saw the band host its first residency at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. In March 2012, Mötley Crüe announced a CO headlining tour with Kiss. The tour kicked off July 20 in Bristow, Virginia, and ran through September 23. In the spring and summer of 2013 the band toured throughout Canada with Big Wreck. The band returned to Las Vegas for a second residency in the fall of 2013. On January 28, 2014, at the conference inside Beecher's Madhouse Theater in Hollywood, Mötley Crüe announced the full details of its retirement, including a tour initially spanning 70 North American dates, with Alice Cooper playing as a special guest. The tour commenced in Grand Rapids, Michigan, on July 2, 2014. The band members had signed a cessation of touring agreement, which prevented them from touring under the Mötley Crüe name beyond the end of 2015. In a later interview, Sihs talked about the possibility of releasing new music, saying that we have music written, it's not put together yet. He also speculated that the band would release it in a song-by-song format as opposed to a full-length album format, elaborating with it's hard, to be honest with you, to spend 6-9 months to write 11 songs, all those lyrics, everything, the vocals, the guitars, the bass, the sonics, the mixing, the mastering, the artwork. You put it out and nothing, because now people cherry-pick songs. So we go, why don't we write songs and find vehicles to get 1, 2, or 4 songs to 10 million people rather than 11 songs to 100,000 people. During the tour the band played a new song, All Bad Things, over the speakers throughout the venue before it took the stage. On November 22, 2014, in Spokane, Washington, at the Spokane Arena, Mötley Crüe played the final concert of the first North American leg of the final tour. On January 15, 2015, it was announced that the band's career would end with international concerts in Japan, Australia, Brazil, and Europe before heading out for a second leg of North American concerts throughout 2015, ending with a concert at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas on December 27, followed by 3 concerts at Staples Center. On December 28, 30 and 31, 2015. In May 2015, the Crüe and Alice Cooper announced a set of 12 concert dates for Europe at a conference in London. On September 19, 2015, the band played the Rock in Rio festival on the main stage. Mötley Crüe performed, for what was then advertised to be the last time, at Staples Center in Los Angeles on December 31, 2015. The band reported that its New Year's Eve show was going to be released as a film in 2016. The movie was titled Mötley Crüe: The End. 2018 present, reunion, I the Dirt/I film, new music, return to touring, and Mars retirement. None. Musical style. Mötley Crüe's musical style has been described as heavy metal, glam metal, hard rock, glam rock, and power pop. According to AllMusic, a knack for melding pop hooks to heavy metal theatrics. The band changed to a more alternative metal and grunge sound on Mötley Crüe and industrial rock on Generation Swine. Legacy. Music critic Martin Popoff's book The Top 500 Heavy Metal Songs of All Time lists 7 of the band's songs in its ranking. Mötley Crüe was ranked 10th on MTV's list of Top 10 Heavy Metal Bands of All Time and 9th on VH1's All-Time Top 10 Metal Bands. Music website Loudwire named the band the 22nd greatest metal band of all time. Spin named Shout at the Devil the 11th best metal album of all time. In 2013, LA Weekly named the band the 3rd best hair metal band of all time. Rolling Stone named Too Fast for Love the 22nd best metal album of all time. In 2006, the band received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. In 2014, the tribute album Nashville Outlaws was released, featuring country music stars including Rascal Flatts, LeAnn Rimes, and Darius Rucker covering various Mötley Crüe songs. The album debuted at number 2 on the Billboard Country Album Chart and number 5 on the Billboard 200. Band members. Timeline. Awards and nominations. Discography. Too Fast for Love. Shout at the Devil. Theater of Pain. Girls, Girls, Girls. Dr. Feelgood. Mötley Crüe. Generation Swine. New Tattoo. Saints of Los Angeles. Tours. 1981, Anywhere, USA Tour. 1981-1982, Boys in Action Tour. 1982, Cruising Through Canada Tour. 1985-1986, Welcome to the Theater of Pain Tour. 1987-1988, Girls, Girls, Girls Tour. October 1989 – August 1990, Dr. Feelgood World Tour. 1991, Monsters of Rock Tour. 1994, Anywhere There's Electricity Tour. 1997, Live Swine Listening Party Tour. 1997, Mötley Crüe vs. The Earth Tour. 1998-1999, Greatest Hits Tour. June-September 1999, Maximum Rock Tour. 1999, Welcome to the Freak Show Tour. 2000, Maximum Rock 2000 Tour. 2000, New Tattoo Tour. 2005, Red, White and Crüe. Better Live Than Dead Tour. 2005-2006, Carnival of Sins Tour. 2007, Mötley Crüe Tour. July-August 2008, Crüe Fest Tour. October 2008 July 2009, Saints of Los Angeles Tour. July-September 2010, Crüe Fest 2 Tour. 2010, The Dead of Winter Tour. 2010, Ozfest Tour. 2011, Glamageddon Tour. October 2011, Mötley Crüe 30th Anniversary Tour. 2011, Mötley Crüe England Tour. 2012, European Tour. July 2012 March 2013, The Tour. April-July 2013, North American Tour. July 2014 December 2015, The Final Tour. June 2022 September 2022, The Stadium Tour. February 2023 July 2023, The World Tour.